Yeah. Good morning! Good morning, good morning, good morning, and happy Mama's Day, everybody. Today we are playing, I'm gonna turn my volume down a little bit, it's loud. Hi, good morning, Alpha Omega System, hello. I got some toxic Yuri for you guys today, because what's not to love about some toxic Yuri, am I right? Let me know how the game volume is for you guys. I had to turn it down a little bit on my end, but I want to make sure it sounds comfortable for you guys too. I got my G Fuel. Huh? Oh, there we go. You are running through a forest. It is late at night, and the sky is as black as pitch. There is nothing to light your way, save for the moon's milky glow, but its rays cannot reach you, not properly. The trees which surround you, jutting out of the earth like eerie monuments to a foreign god, are blotting out most of the light. You cannot see where you are going. Even if you had commenced your flight at a more sensible hour, however, with the light of the sun to aid you, it would be of little use. You do not know where you are going. You have no map, no route, no plan. You are running like a frightened animal, anxious and nervy, with no destination in mind. You have no desire, as you run, save to escape. You cannot let yourself be caught. If that were to happen, you are certain that you would be ruined. You have no choice, therefore, to keep going on and on and on, though your feet are screaming at you for mercy. You have no idea how long you have been running. Time has begun to blend together. It has lost all meaning. Something sharp snags at the hem of your skirt, but you do not have the luxury to pause and examine what has happened. Instead, you tug. Thank you for the head pats, Alpha Omega. Thank you. Your skirt tears. Oh no! The sound splintering through the forest, and you stumble forwards with a shocked gasp. You are free, but at what cost? Your skirt has been irrevocably damaged. It might be too late to worry about such trivial matters now, though. If you do not start running again, soon she will catch you. Is she gonna be like our toxic waifu? Then your life will be over. You do not know if she's still following you, but you do not want to risk looking over your shoulder. If you were to see her, silhouetted beneath a tree, looking at you with that sickly sweet smile which once ensnared you, you would lose what little nerve you possess. Your legs would lock up, and your blood would freeze in your veins. Then you would crumble. You would fall, but you would not hit the ground. She would be there to catch you. Did she not promise, when you made that contract, that you would never be alone? Contract, is this Misaki Nakahara? You would like to take back that silly wish of yours, but it's too late for that. It's too late for a lot of things. All you can do now is run. You run and run while icy fog swirls about your feet. It's cold enough to sap the heat from your body, and you shudder from it. It feels as though you are drowning. It feels as though you are being buried alive. Your knees and your shins, meanwhile, are bleeding. You cannot endure much more of this. But if you value your own life, you must. You run and run and you run until at long last you reach a fork in the road. There are 3 paths which split off through the forest. Well, 4 if you count the path down which you came. You cannot exactly double back on yourself though. Not when you have put so much effort into running forwards. You can only press on. The 3 paths are signposts, which is something of a strange sight given you are so deep in the forest. Dark though it might be, you have grown accustomed to the shadows. You can just about pick out the writing on this old, dilapidated signpost, curved and slanted though it is. Visual novels like to use the word dilapidated, I noticed. Your fate, if you will forgive me for sounding cliché, is in your hands. Now, I wonder, which path will you take? Do we get to choose? Oh, we get to choose. Go to the shore, the village, or the castle. Does chat have any suggestions on where we should go? Because I need to take another sip of my G Fuel real quick. I love my G Fuel. Village? Let's go to the village. So you want to go to the village. Good idea. Let us see what further trials await you, dear. This night is far from over, as much as you might wish it was, and there is still much and more to discover. I wonder what will happen next. You follow the path which leads to the village, supporting yourself on weary, aching limbs which feel ready, at a moment's notice, to snap at the knee beneath the burden of your weight. The soles of your feet are screaming at you. You need to lie down, and quickly. You only hope, as you continue to run, that you will find a suitable residence in which to rest at the village. You do not know what will await you at the village, but you have visions as you run of a quaint, scenic settlement, all thatched, cottages with sloping roofs. Surely there will be a kindly peasant who will be willing to put up a young runaway for a few nights. You can imagine, too, the face of this kindly peasant from the fairy tales you read in abundance as a small child. She will be broad-shouldered, ruddy-faced, with dull brown hair crammed beneath the cap. Her arms will be sturdy from many years of washing clothes and milking cows, and she'll be very kind to you and compassionate, just like a mother. Yay! Happy Mother's Day! You do not know what mothers are like. You hardly ever spoke to yours. You are only guessing. Damn, I gotta go. Hopefully nothing bad happens. Enjoy your day. Thanks for stopping by. You are not a complete fool, however. Despite your tendency to daydream, you do have a few reservations. Peasants do not, as far as from your precarious reading, have much money, nor do they have much food. It might be hard to convince a resident of the village, even the kindly washerwoman of your fantasies, to take in a complete stranger. Still, you must try. That is all you can do, really. So, you run to the village. It takes some time before you finally emerge from the woods, but finally, you manage it. How much time, you ask? I cannot answer that. Did I not say that time had begun to lose all its meaning? The forest is behind you now, at least, and all the awful nightmares which dwelt within it. It is still cold, though, and still foggy. It is still dark, too. The sun has yet to rise. You can see the moon more clearly now, though, as as it hangs above your head, round as any pearl, or orb, or crystal ball. The moonlight shines down upon the village, nestled among the hills like a diorama. Hope anew bubbles within you. You have finally made it. Surely not, but your salvation awaits you? You follow the winding dirt path to the village, looking this way and that way. But your hope, such a precious fragile thing, soon begins to fade. The village, up close, does not look half as welcoming as you imagined. There are cottages, yes, but they are in a state of disrepair. Oh no! Is it an abandoned village? There are holes in the roofs and holes in the windows. Most of the doors are tightly shut, but others are gaping open. The kitchens beyond them even darker than the night sky which shrouds you. There are no lights in any of the windows, and neither can you see any people, insomniacs like you at them. Hello, Fugare Fire. Hi, how are you? You cannot hear anything either, beyond the sound of your own footsteps and the low, mournful sighing of the wind. The village is quite quiet, eerily so. It is immediately obvious, even to a naive girl such as yourself, that something terrible must have befallen this village. You know before you try your luck at one of the houses that nobody will answer you. Yes, this is a visual novel. It's a lot of reading. There will be no kindly red-armed washerwoman to welcome you here, no matter how much you wish for it. But sometimes you get to make choices that impact the story and what happens, and that's pretty cool. But that does not stop you from wishing regardless. Oh, did you hear that? A little knock? Your knuckles rap smartly against the wooden door. Your efforts soon prove, however, to be in vain. There is nobody here to hear your entreaties. How very sad. You try another door, then another, but the result is the same regardless of how many doors you rap upon. Nobody answers you. How could they? There's nobody there. Once again, you have found yourself all alone. At least you have found some dwellings in which you can rest your weary head. Will you utilize one of these cottages for your own purposes? Nobody is here. You might as well. But no, an abandoned cottage is not what you are looking for. You would far rather have companionship, would you not? Bravely, you swallow your tears. You wipe your eyes with the back of your arm in a well-practiced motion. Then, inhale. You square your shoulders. And you keep on going. Surely the village cannot be completely deserted. There must be one person here, at the very least, who can help you. That is what you are thinking as you resume your search. You flit from cottage to cottage with precious little to show for your determination, until you make yet another discovery. This village, with its squat thatched cottages bathed in the moon's glow, has a church. Well, of course it has a church. The villagers who once dwelt here were not godless heathens. Not that their faith did them all that much good in the end. Oh no, the stream crashed for you. I'm so sorry. Still, the sight of the church soothes your overtaxed heart. You were so focused on your fantasies of a kind washerwoman taking you in that you did not pause to entertain the fancy of a kindly nun doing much the same. Oh my god, a nun, yes, a nun. All hope is not lost. Thank goodness, I love this story. Hi, Fluffers! Hi! I have never played this one before, so I'm really excited. Excited to see what happens. You approach the church, which seems to tower over you despite it being so humble. The church is a small one, but it is stout and sturdy. It must be, for it has withstood centuries, forever standing, sentinel on this hill, like a relic from a bygone era. How's the sound, by the way? Can you let me know if it's too loud or too quiet? The church does not have any stained glass windows, but it does not need them. Even without more luxurious trappings, the church still exudes an aura of dignified solemnity. The stone building is fringed by a sizable graveyard, one which occupies the rest of the hilltop and some of its sloping sides. The graves, which have been planted by generations of wardens, are hewn from a similar stone to that which the church's walls are made of. Game is switched too loud for me, but not by much. I'll turn it down just slightly. Thank you so much. Thank you for letting me know. It's a little loud on my end too. There we go. That should be better. Some of the gravestones are shaped like lozenges, while others are shaped like crosses. A handful of headstones are even shaped like angels, though these are far and few in between. Thank you so much for following, Fugate Fire. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There are very few people in a village such as this one who can afford such luxurious final resting places. You look at the tombstones with an almost childlike curiosity, forgetting in your examination of the visceral, heart-rendering fear which gripped you as you ran through the forest. You are out of the woods now, and you have, subconsciously, already begun to relax. You try to read the names hewn into the myriad of tombstones, but it is dark and you're tired, and some of these graves are very, very old indeed. You strain your eyes, but you do not have much luck in this endeavor. Oh well. Such superfluous details are not important. You eventually tire of examining the graves and turn. This graveyard is an expansive one, unusually so. Given the village itself is so small, how can it boast so many corpses? And there is much to explore. You walk through the perimeter of the church, casting your gaze first here, there, then everywhere, consumed as you are by your immense, all-encompassing curiosity. And as you do, you see her. She looks like an ordinary girl, small and scrawny, just like yourself. But she is much, much more than her unremarkable appearance might suggest. Thank you for the head pats, Ezekiel. Thank you. Hi, hi, hi. How are you? Happy Mother's Day. For some moments, you observe her, hiding, all the while, in the shadow cast by the church, like a furtive lizard clinging against a rocky edifice to shroud itself from the sun. I'm glad to hear you're doing good, Ezekiel. There is no sunlight here, though. There's only the night sky and the stars and the moon. Beneath the moon's light, a silver implement the girl is clutching shimmers her shovel. Her shovel. That's a fancy way to say her shovel. It takes you a few moments to see what it is that the girl is clutching in her hands. Still a shovel. It is not until you see her manipulate it, its sharp edge biting into the earth, that you understand. Oh, is she the gravedigger? She must be the grave person. It's a shovel. Yes, like I said already. The girl is standing in an isolated corner of the churchyard, late at night, and she is digging a grave. Well, you suppose she could always be digging a hole for the sake of it, but Her work seems much too precise for this to be the result of mere whimsy. It is hard for you to see her face, given the distance between the pair of you, but her posture is one that speaks of supreme concentration. She moves slowly, mechanically, like a woman on a mission, driving the end of her shovel into the earth over and over. Her motions are regular enough to be repetitive. There is something hypnotic almost in the manner in which she attends the task. Should you risk interrupting her? Do you dare? You get the feeling that she would not appreciate it. The shovel in her hands, meanwhile, is rather hefty. If she whisked it, she could cause you no small amount of damage with it. Cold anxiety makes your skin prickle. You do not know if you should risk speaking to her in her dark cloak with her shovel. Looks so very strange. But what do you have left to lose? You have come this far. It would be folly to turn back now. It is with this thought in your mind that you decide to approach this strange girl. Your footsteps are quiet. You have grown accustomed to slinking around like a cat. But they are not quiet enough. The girl's senses must be finely tuned because she blinks. Then she turns. Your eyes meet, and once they do, you feel your breath catch in your throat. You did not have a clear view of the girl before, concealed as you were in the shadows, but now she's looking at you. You can tell that she is pretty. Her skin is very smooth, and her hair, though obscured by a dark hood, is very fair. Her eyes, meanwhile, are a clear, cool blue, like ice. Those eyes of her, which are large with unease, are fringed with very long, fair eyelashes. She looks as though she has stepped out of the pages of a picture book. She is simply too perfect to belong to this world. Perhaps she is some kind of vision, a waking dream, a hallucination? But no, she's none of those things. The shovel she is clutching, not crunching. That would be impressive if she could crunch it. Anyways, the shovel she is clutching in her hands looks solid enough, its pointed tip glittering wickedly in the moonlight. You steel yourself, expecting, perhaps, some sort of outburst. But the tension drains from the girl's slender shoulders. Her fingers, which once were gripping the handle of her shovel tightly, relax. Her lips curve upward at the edges. She's smiling, and what a smile it is. It is transformative. When she smiles, she looks radiant, angelic almost. Hers is a smile that is so suffused with light that your eyes begin to prickle from it. You are so relieved you almost feel as if you could cry. It would not be the first time you have wept during this night, and neither would it be too surprising if you did. That smile, that damn smile. You have been through a lot. Is she gonna be the main character's 13th reason? You must be exhausted. The girl holding the shovel seems to realize this because she bridges the distance between you cautiously, as one might approach a skittish cat. Then she says in a rough voice, which does not match her dainty appearance, "Well, she does live in a rural village. What were you expecting?" "Oh, it's so good to see another person. I was afraid I was the only person left. The only one in the whole world." Now this is quite the effusive greeting. No spoilers. Her introductory speech is riddled with exclamation marks. I do appreciate not being spoiled. She is rather more personable than her apparel would make one suggest. You, a well-bred young lady, cannot help but feel overwhelmed. It is your turn now to be on your guard. Anxiously, you observe the girl with the shovel, and you ask her what she means. What happened? Oh, do you not know? There is an awful lot you do not know. So much, in fact, it would fill a whole encyclopedia. No, a whole library. You shake your head, ashamed at your ignorance, and the girl frowns. You mustn't be from around these parts, I guess. I should have known. The village is a small one, and everybody knows everybody. The girl's expression falls. At least they used to, back when there was still people to know. That ain't the case now, though, not after the plague. There was a plague? That would certainly explain why the village, when you walked through it, was so quiet. Did everybody else succumb to this mystery illness? That's right. Oh, that's right. It's just me here now. I've not seen another human being in a long, long time. It gets so lonely here. Oh, it's the title of the game! Now, that is an interesting turn of phrase. It catches inside your head like a burr. They make your brain go whir. Have you heard it before? You do not have much time to ponder this, however, because the girl takes a step towards you. Very, very meta of the devs to say that. Oh, but where are my manners? They must have gone rusty after being on my own for so long. My apologies, miss. You look like you've come a long way. You said you were a traveler, yes? And your hands are very cold, just like ice. Would you like to come inside? Maybe have something warm to eat and a drink? My home's small, I'm afraid. And my food ain't nothing fancy. But I'd be more than willing to share. It's not every day another girl stops by, especially not as pretty as yourself. I'm feeling very blessed. The girl laughs, a carefree, airy sort of laugh, which does not match your initial impression of her. You thought that when you saw her among the graves, that she would be more distant somehow, and more mysterious. Perhaps you are mixing her up with somebody else. You're still unsure if you can trust this girl, but her invitation is an appealing one. It is much more appealing, certainly, than spending the night outdoors in the cold, keeping under graves. What are you, a romantic poet? Please. You make a show of pondering the girl's invitation. At the very least, you do not want to appear too eager, but your acquiescence is, alas, an inevitability. Why would you ever refuse her? She is the first friendly face you have seen all night. Without her, you would be all alone. Your hostess leads you to a small, humble home located but a stone's throw away from the church, built in the shadows of a twisted, towering sycamore. The girl's home is in such a state it seems a folly to even call it a home. However, would to you be the more appropriate descriptor. But when your hostess leads you inside, her eyes alive, and she says, "Here we are, home sweet home." You don't have the heart to tell her that you don't find her home very homey or very sweet. That would be incredibly rude, not on Mother's Day. As a guest, you ought to be more appreciative. Half-heartedly, you look around your newfound surroundings. The ceiling is supported by a wooden joist, and it is perilously low. Not so much so that you are in danger of bumping your head, but just enough to feel claustrophobic. There is a fire in the corner, though it is not consigned to the grate. The fire instead is blazing in the open, a circle of logs set alight like a scene from a witch's kitchen. Above the fire hangs a silvery pot suspended from one of the wooden eaves. Other objects of interest are hung from the eaves. Iron implements you take to be cooking utensils, various herbs, and strips of meat left to cure. The smell of cooking fills the air, mingled with the sharp, sour scent of unwashed bodies. Ew. How, you wonder, does your hostess clean herself? You do not see a bathtub anywhere. Perhaps she does not possess one. The girl's home is unremarkable in every regard, but it is, you suppose, better than nothing. At least there is a roof over your head and food to put in your belly. The girl looks to the pot, suspended over the fire, which she gives a stir with a ladle. Then she brings the ladle to her lips to taste whatever concoction she has been brewing with it. You can only hope that she is not like the weird sisters from that famous play, brewing a broth with fenny snake fillets. Yes, I think this is just about done, the girl says, to nobody in particular. She settles the ladle down back into the pot, then looks to you and smiles. Do you want something? It looks like you've come quite the long way. You must be hungry. These words are like music to your ears, even more divine than the trumpets of God's most loyal angels. You're so hungry, you could eat a horse. Thank you so much for the follow, Darkness. Thank you, thank you. You're welcome, little gremlin. Thank you so much. Not that there are any horses in the immediate vicinity. You express your interest to the hostess, who smiles in response. I thought you'd like the sound of that. Just give me a few moments. Your hostess retrieves 2 earthenware bowls from a cupboard with rickety hinges, into which she pours 2 hefty helpings of whatever she is cooking. This she serves with bread, which is so hefty it could be used as a murder weapon. Foreshadowing, maybe? It's not much, I'm afraid. It's only soup and bread. It should take the edge off your appetite, though. You thank your hostess for her hospitality, your stomach rumbling all the while. The soup does not look like anything you would typically consume, but the soup's poor presentation does not dissuade you. It is true enough that people eat first with their eyes, but when one is hungry enough, one becomes obliging enough to eat almost anything. Why else do you think that people, when stranded upon deserted islands, resort to cannibalism? Humans are creatures of necessity. You like to wrap yourselves up in pretensions. But in actuality, you are not better than animals. We are animals. You're so hungry, your stomach is achingly empty, that you certainly descend upon your food like an animal. Nom 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 nom. Your teeth glint, your incisors gleam, and soon you have consumed all that your hostess has offered you. Your hostess watches while you eat, and she giggles once you have finished. Did you enjoy that? Oh! You catch your hostess's gaze, suddenly abashed. You were so hungry you failed to account for her judgment. Now you have some food in your belly, though, and you have been suitably warmed. Your old self-consciousness is returning. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that you find the stream cute and comfy. I really try. I try to have good vibes. Did you not make a fool out of yourself? Your demure, shyly looking at your lap, fearful, all the while of what your hostess might think of you. You do not want her to think against you. Fortunately for you, however, and for your fragile ego, your hostess is not the judgmental sort. I love you reading out loud the dialogue. It makes it much more fun. Keep it up. Thank you. I really appreciate the feedback because I've been really into visual novels lately and I like streaming them, but sometimes I worry that it's boring because it's mostly me reading. And I know that can be a little boring, so knowing that you appreciate it makes me really happy. Thank you. She is not like the girls you grew up with. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's nice to see my food being appreciated so heartily. I know I'm not the best, but I've been practicing for a long while. I used to cook for my father all the time, you see. This remark catches your attention. Quizzically, you look at your hostess, your abashment over your animalistic eating habits suspended. What happened to her father? It seems a grim thing to contemplate after eating, but... Didn't your hostess mention something about a plague? Yes, your hostess says, her voice soft now and serious. That's right, there was a plague. And what of the village? The villagers? And what of her father? They're all gone now. Gone? Yeah, you see? Your hostess rearranges herself upon her chair, one slender leg folded over the other. Then she begins her tale in earnest. My family has a history. We've lived here for centuries, by the church, so we can tend to the graveyard. Ah, so this abode is centuries old then. It would certainly explain the dirt. My father used to prepare bodies for burial, back when he was alive. He built the coffins, and he dug the graves, and he lowered the coffins into the dirt. I know it might sound like an awful job, but somebody's gotta do it. There's no sense averting our eyes from death, not when it happens to the best of us. It's a noble profession, one that's been handed down in our family for generations. My father's father was a gravedigger, and so is my father's father's father, and my father's 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 father. Digging graves is in our blood. It's who we are. My, that was a surprisingly pretty speech, coming from a girl who lives in the countryside, a girl who is without much in the way of education. It is apparent, just to listen to her, and the way she slurs her syllables together, that she has never had any elocution lessons, not like you. I need another sip of my G Fuel. There is a determination, however, to her, and a pride in her with genealogy, which gives her a respectable aura. You cannot help but be impressed. So, you ask your hostess, does that make her one in a long line of gravediggers? Yes, your hostess, the gravedigger, says. That's about right. Though, I was never supposed to be a gravedigger myself. It's not a woman's profession. That's what everybody says. My father didn't mind that, though. He taught me everything he knew, and then some. I might be a woman, but I've plenty of upper body strength. I can dig a grave just as well as my father could, without breaking a sweat. To the despair of my mother in heaven, I'm sure. I'm sure if she was still alive, she'd rather I focus on more feminine pursuits, like basket weaving or sewing, to better attract a suitor. Not that that would do much good now. There's nobody around who'd court me, not for miles and miles. And what happened to her mother? She died when I was very young. During childbirth, I was only 5 years old. Oh, well. You can relate to her at least, upon this point. Your parents are not dead, at least not as far as you are aware, but you have not seen them in an awfully long time. They sent you away as soon as you were old enough, and they never once bothered to check up on you. For many years, there have been no letters nor any visits. You offer the gravedigger your condolences. You do not know if they will help, but you feel like you cannot say nothing. That would seem heartless. The gravedigger, however, does not seem too upset by this turn of events, because she smiles, albeit somberly. It's alright. It was ages ago. I don't remember her too well, and I've never really had the luxury of sitting around feeling sorry for myself. I had too much work to do. Around the house, you ask? That too. I was the oldest child, so it was my job, after my mother died, to manage the sweeping and the cooking. Oh, and looking after all my siblings too. You blink, intrigued, then glance about the hostess's humble lodgings. You do not see any siblings in the immediate vicinity. Where could they be? The gravedigger must have noticed your roving eyes. You are not exactly being subtle, because she shakes her head. I had siblings, 2 younger brothers. They're both gone now. Oh, you should have known. You apologize to the gravedigger for your lack of tact, but she does not seem upset by this faux pas. Don't apologize. It's not your fault. My brothers weren't long for this world anyway. The youngest, he died when he was still a babe, and the oldest, he died before he reached double digits. I was upset about it at the time, of course, but I've come to terms with it. Life's a fleeting thing in this wrecked old world. That's something you learn from this trade. Digging graves, I mean. I've dug graves for the elderly and the infirm, but I've also dug graves for young babes still in their swaddling clothes. That's the nature of death. It comes for us all in the end. No matter how old we are, no matter how much money we have, no matter how good or how bad we've been. It's the great equalizer. Or so I've heard. A chill creeps down your spine as you listen to your hostess's speech. She's not wrong. But in the inherent mortality of all humankind, it's not something you wish to contemplate. It's too disturbing. For the longest of times, my family was a small one. It was just my father and me. That was fine. It was how I liked it. I was very happy, even if our lives weren't the best. I've never had any fancy clothes to wear, and we can't dine on the finest of foods. In the grand scheme of things, we ain't nothing that special. But I've always felt otherwise. I thought I was blessed. We knew hardship, of course, and famine, but that's just the way life is around here. When food supplies were low, we always helped one another out. I had my father, but I also had the rest of the village. We all looked after one another, and things always worked out in the end. At least, they did. Until the plague happened. Yes, she had mentioned a plague. You've been wondering when she was going to return to that topic. You suppose that the plague is the reason that the village, as you traversed it, was so very empty? You'd suppose right. The plague tore through the village. I don't remember when. It feels like a while ago, but maybe it wasn't all that long after all. It feels like I've been on my own for centuries, but... Your hostess's eyes begin to cloud over. She looks as though she is entrenched within her own memories. What could she be remembering? You have never seen a plague before, though you have heard of them in your history lessons. Your history professor was quite enthusiastic about the subject. She talked about piles of dead bodies stacked up on the streets and stacked up in the wooden carts come to take them away, with no shortage of aplomb. She was a strange woman, your history professor. The plague came on very suddenly. There was no warning. One day everyone was fine, and then the next, they were all dead. It is with no small amount of anxiety that you eye the gravedigger. Then you ask, worriedly, surely they could not all have died? Is that not an exaggeration? Oh, if only. I wish I was exaggerating, but it's the truth, honest to God. The people in the village died, one after the other, just like that. I saw what the plague does to people firsthand. My father was one of the first people who caught it. I think one of the bodies which came through, that we burned, must have had it. Not that I know for certain. I'm just guessing, but still. My father didn't have an easy time of it. His skin turned all gray and clammy, and he complained of a horrible fever. There were night sweats and stomach cramps. And then there were the boils. The boils? Pustules. They were the size of eggs and they were full of pus. When they burst, it stunk. The whole house was full of it, the stink of death. The wise woman of this village came to see if she could be of any use, but it was no good. My father was far too gone already. She took one look at him, lying on his deathbed, and she shook her head. She said she didn't want to get any closer. I can't say I blame her. It was a ghastly sight. I didn't appreciate it at all at the time, though. It felt like she was turning her back on us. I wished her ill. I remembered that after she left. Until a few days passed and she fell sick, too. Then, I felt bad for cursing her. I couldn't help but worry if it was all my fault. It's silly, I know, but... The gravedigger closes her eyes. She seems to squeeze her lids together until her lashes melt like flecks of fallen snow. Her shoulders, which are very slender, are shaking. She looks as though she might at any moment fall apart. It wasn't long after that the rest of the village fell ill. They all had the same symptoms as my father. The clammy skin, the fever, the boils. The boils grew, then they burst, and they died in screaming, stinking agony. My father died too, only 3 days after he fell ill. But I think even that was 3 days too many. I didn't want my father to die, of course. I did everything I could to help him, but it was all pointless. None of my herbal salves had any impact. I couldn't make a blind bit of a difference. All I did was stand about his bedside, telling him it'd be all right, until his eyes sank into his skull like 2 black stones and his mouth dried out. During that last day, before he died, he might have been a corpse already. He didn't look at me. He didn't speak to me. He just lay in bed with his eyes closed, groaning. I I really like the music, like the soundtrack for this visual novel so far. It's really adding to the overall vibes. I never wished any ill on my father before, but during those moments, The gravedigger squeezes her hands, which are resting upon her black-clad lap, in the fist. She trembles. Then, in a voice throbbing with awful emotions, she says, "I wish she'd just died." Well, based on her anecdote, it does not sound like she had overly long to wait. I wonder if she would consider that a silver lining. No, perhaps not. The gravedigger is still shaking. She will not cry, will she? You hope not. Awkwardly, you look at the gravedigger. You are not sure how to soothe her, but you know you must make some sort of an effort, even if it's a little token one. You shift upon your chair, which feels very cold and hard beneath your thighs. Then you say, very softly, that you are sorry. It's not much, but it's all you can think of saying. You had thought initially that your situation was comparable to that of the gravedigger, but now you can see that this is not the case. Your suffering has far outstripped your own. Not that suffering is a competition, of course. Your apology feels inadequate to your ears, largely because it is, but the gravedigger seems not to mind it. She is very big-hearted, that girl, to smile at you so, no matter how foolish you might be. Do you really deserve such kindness? Oh, again with the apologies. It's alright, like I said. You didn't cause any of this. I'm not upset at you. I'm just recounting what happened is all. I do wonder, though, why I never fell sick myself. I thought I was gonna die, so I'd already prepared for the Reaper to come and take me away. But maybe he wasn't interested. Maybe he'd already satiated his appetite on all the others. That, or maybe he thought he'd have to leave me alive for practicality's sake. With my father gone, who else would tend to the dead? I was the only person left by the end of it all, so I had to bury the people in this village. They're all resting peacefully now, under the earth, where the plague can't reach them. On the one hand, I'm happy for them. They were able to escape from all their suffering. When I think about all the people I've lost, though... The gravedigger tenses. Then she sniffs. When I think about the kindly washerwoman who helped me scrub the mud and the dirt from my clothes... So this village did have its fair share of washerwomen after all. It would seem your earlier insistence upon this particular point was not without merit. And the handsome young farmhands who used to flirt with me. The priest who preached at the church, who told us wonderful tales of paradise, and the children who would skip stones on the lake and play hopscotch in the streets. I can't help but feel so lonely. The gravedigger's eyes begin to shine when she has finished her address with tears, but she does not let them fall. She's being very brave, much more so than you are. Anxiously, you extend a hand towards her, meaning to... What? Give her a hug? You do not know her well enough? Pat her head? That would be infantilizing. Squeeze her hand? Perhaps that could be misconstrued as a romantic overture, and that is the last thing you want. Why? Why is that the last thing you want? I think that could be pretty poggers. You endured more than your fair share of teasing over that. You sit there for a few moments, paralyzed by indecision, as the gravedigger poorly suppresses her sniffles. In the end, you let your arm drop back to your side. Your hand rests upon your lap, as useful as damp kindling. You do not know what to do with it. You do know that you ought to say something, though, to show that you heard her plight and that you care. You do not know what this something should be, however. No words could ever console the gravedigger. They would never be enough. They can offer some balm, however, to the bereaved, and so after a pause, just long enough to be awkward, you offer your condolences. What else can you say? Oh no, the gravedigger replies, wiping a few stray tears away with the back of her arm. It's alright. I've grown used to it, really. Being on my own, I mean. It ain't so bad, really. And I'm not alone, at least. I've met you. You'll keep me company, won't you? Well, what can you say to that? You aren't callous enough to trample this poor girl's hopes, are you? You know full well yourself how awful that feels. You can do nothing but nod, a response that makes the girl smile more widely. That's wonderful. I know you're a traveler who's just passing through, but I can offer you bread and board until you leave. Yo, why she got such a long neck? Does she really? I mean, yeah, I guess that's pretty long for an anime girl. I didn't even notice that until you pointed it out. Also, hi, Critter! I have food enough and a spare bedroom. I can make it up for you right now. You must be tired after your long journey. Just give me a moment. The gravedigger rises to her feet in a flurry of excitement, then retreats. Yes, it is the real Critter! For reals! You watch as she departs, a little too eager to please, and frown. The girl's home is a small, humble one, with a low ceiling and slanted walls. You cannot imagine such a small dwelling possessing a spare bedroom. This so-called spare bedroom is, in all likelihood, the room her father slept in before the plague carried him off. You do not think that you would much like to spend the night in the roof of a dead man, but what choice do you have? You are tired, wretchedly so. Why? It is all you could do to keep your eyes open. While you were running through the forest, desperate to escape your pursuer, you had no thought in your mind beyond finding some safe sanctuary in which you could recuperate. Now that you have found said sanctuary, it would be unreasonable to find faults with it. You ought to learn to be more thankful for what you have. There are many, many people in this world with less. Sounds like my mama, because that's something my mama would say. I'm gonna have a sip of my G Fuel again. You rise and follow the gravedigger. Once she has finished her preparations to her so-called spare bedroom, which is every bit as cramped as you feared it would be. At least there is a bed, which comes as something of a relief. The rest of these lodgings are so humble, you are half expecting a straw pallet. As tired as you might be, you cannot lie to yourself. You have no desire to sleep among the hay like an animal. What do you mean among the hay? There's a bed right there! Like, right there. See? That's bed. The sheets of the bed are clean too. Yeah, it is a bed. I don't see no hay. A fact you discern with a cursory glance. So, you will not be expected to sleep upon the sweat-soaked linen of a plague-ridden man after all. Oh, I get it. You can't sleep in the bed. This really is your lucky day. I got you this too, the gravedigger says, somewhat shyly, as she hands you a folded gown to sleep in. I thought it might come in handy. Your own clothes are, a little bit shabby. She can say that again. Your skirt is covered in mud, and the hem is torn and ragged. The bed does look a little stiff. I think you're right, Critter. It does look like it would be uncomfortable to sleep in. But, I mean, a stiff bed is better than no bed, right? This nightgown is one of my old ones, so it suffered a bit of wear and tear. But I hope it'll be an alright fit. Fluffers would sleep on it. It's clean if nothing else. You accept the nightgown from your benefactress with words of thanks. I really like her look and her hair and the blue eyes. Her neck is a little long, like Critter pointed out, but overall she's still pretty moe. You want to sound appropriately appreciative, but you cannot mask your fatigue. Weariness overcomes you, and you yawn, a fact that the gravedigger does not fail to notice. Oh, begging your pardon. I don't want to keep you. I'll be making myself scarce. If you need anything, though, don't hesitate to ask. I'd be happy to help. The gravedigger bows her head to you like a drudge, then hurries off, closing the door behind her with a thud. Tired though you are, you soon find that you rather miss your hostess's company. In the face of her good-natured smiles, you could almost forget all of the hardships you have hitherto endured. In her absence, however, your lodgings feel almost unbearably cold and inhospitable. You suppress a shudder, then unclothe yourself. You work as quickly as you are able, but your fingers are cold, and they fumble with the buttons of your blouse. It takes you more time than you would like to complete this endeavor, but you soon have your shirt and your skirt dispensed with. You are too tired to fold them neatly, so you do not bother to fold them at all. Instead, you cast them carelessly upon the floor, yeet, as defiant as a sulky child, then pull on your new nightgown. Your hostess's early warnings were apt enough. It is quite worn, but it fits well enough. It is more comfortable, at least, than your old uniform. You have endured worse. Newly dressed and ready for bed, you loosen your hair from your braids and settle down amongst the sheets. It is with a sigh you extinguish the weakly flickering candlelight which burns on your bedside, and with another sigh that you lay your head down upon your pillow. Though physically exhausted, you have to wonder whether you will be able to sleep at all. You can recall your previous dash through the forest in such vivid detail, your heart is still pounding. That fear has yet to leave you. Perhaps it will never leave you at all. Your terror was such. It almost feels as though it has suffused itself into your bones, into your very being. But your exhaustion is greater than your worldly anxieties, and soon it claims you. Your eyelids fall shut, and your breathing inevitably begins to even out. It is not long until you are spiraling through a dark, deep abyss, lost in Morpheus's kingdom. But your sleep, despite your wearied state, is not as restorative as you had hoped. Your imagination has always been overactive. Even at the conservatory, you were very frequently beset by dreams of the most vivid nature. The dreams that you have this night, lying beneath unfamiliar sheets upon an unfamiliar bed, are no less intense than usual. In your dreams, you are back at the conservatory, the place where this adventure of yours began. You are wearing the crisp white blouse you once discarded, and your gray, unremarkable skirt. Your hair is tied in braids, and your eyes are downturned, forever focused upon your feet. You tried not to look at your classmates, and you thought yourself fortunate if they did not look at you in return. You didn't want anybody to notice you. Until that awful winter, that is, where everybody stopped paying attention to you for good. Nobody tried to trip you when you walked past them in the hallways. Nobody, in fact, so much as glanced at you. All of a sudden, there were no malicious whispers, no wicked laughter, no pulled hair, and no thrown objects. You were giddy relief at first over this newfound means of tormenting you that your classmates had devised. But this little game, that of complete and utter disregard, continued and on and on and on as the days grew shorter and the nights grew longer. As the time passed, you began to fret as to the state of your own corporal reality. Could anybody still see you? Did you even exist at all? Then, at long last, you found it, quite by accident, the source of all your woes. One of the girls had erected it in the forest through which you were sometimes bidden to jog for PE class, beneath the shade cast by an old oak tree. It was a makeshift tombstone, a small, meager monument made of stone, upon which one of your classmates had hewn a name. Your name. You knew at once, as you stood there, standing beneath the shade of that ancient tree, that this was the reason behind your classmates' silence. This was why they had, for many months, been ignoring you so assiduously. They had buried you. In their hearts, you had already died. Your eerie dreams notwithstanding, you sleep more comfortably than you had anticipated. When you awake the following morning to the sweet chirping of birdsong, you feel well rested, albeit a bit woozy. OMG, that's actually the name of the game. I was like, is Kitty yearning on Twitch or something? I mean, I guess it's not unlike me to be yearning on Twitch. But yeah, it's literally the name of the game is It Gets So Lonely Here. Hi, Cinefix. I need some of my drink. Hello, hello. Happy Mama's Day. Your head is aching. It is nothing, however, that a hot cup of tea can't fix. You stumble into the kitchen in your nightclothes, your hair loose and your feet bare, and the gravedigger turns to you. She looks at your face, which is pasty, and your under eyes, which are dark, and exclaims, in the manner of one accustomed to solving problems, not complaining about them, "Oh, you look awful. I think you need something warm to drink, and maybe you need something to eat too. Let me get started on breakfast." And that is exactly what she does. She gets started on breakfast, which proves to be quite the simple affair, nothing like the luxurious food you were accustomed to in your past life. The bread is hard enough to break your teeth on, and the cheese is a bit too strong. It is food, all the same though, and you do not complain. Your stomach was beginning to grumble. The tea is inoffensive at least, and you drink it gratefully. You thank the gravedigger girl for her hospitality, and she smiles at you in return, a sunny smile, like a field of blooming bellflowers. "It's no problem. Don't hesitate to ask me if you need anything else," she says, words which come to symbolize your relationship. You stay with the gravedigger for many, many more days, and limited though her means might be, she always tries to help you. The gravedigger sets you chores about the house to keep you occupied, a fact for which you are grateful. You need to do something to keep your mind off your frantic flight through the forest. You can almost forget about it now, during the day. During the night, however, it returns to you. The sound of your feet against the foliage and the swirling fog. I think the game's calling us a freeloader. I mean, we kind of are, but we also kind of aren't, because it's not like jobs are a thing anymore, since this is like post-plague and they're the only two people left. But at the same time, we gotta earn our keep. When you sleep, you are assailed by nightmares. Sometimes you awake after midnight, the sheets twisted around your body, and your mouth gaping open in a paroxysm of terror. She did take us in willingly, that's true, but we should still do chores around the house for our waifu. Though you try to tell yourself otherwise, you are still afraid. Being with the gravedigger makes you feel less, though. Particularly when you're sweeping the floor or keeping an eye on the bread loaves so they do not burn. You attend to most of the domestic chores, while the gravedigger concerns herself with the work she knows best, that is, digging graves. Her dogged persistence when it comes to this pursuit intrigues you, so much so that you cannot help but posit a question to her on one particular morning when the sky is festooned with clouds. Hello, Swordco here. Hi. How are you? Happy Mama's Day. Why, you ask her, perhaps a touch insensitively, why do you continue to dig graves? There's nobody left, after all, to dig them for. You have always been practical, and you cannot see the point in it. What's the point in it? The gravedigger ponders, while holding her precious shovel to her chest. Doing okay, just watching the kiddos, giving their mama a break. Yay! W father moment. W father moment. Good on you. Fortunately, she does not seem upset by your question, despite its bluntness. You should count yourself lucky her temperament is very placid. I don't suppose there is any point to it, really, the gravedigger eventually says with a small smile. I know it doesn't have any practical purpose, but, well, digging graves is what my father did. He showed me how to do it so I could continue his legacy. My father wanted to keep our family tradition going, and I suppose I want to do the same. That's all there is to it, really. That's all, is it? You think you can understand that? Though your companion's actions might appear to be illogical, there is a kernel of reason nestled amongst them. She does not dig graves out of any sense of purpose. She does it, instead, out of sentiment. Besides, I have to do something to keep myself busy, don't I? If I spent my days idling all on my own, I think I'd go mad. The gravedigger laughs at this, as though the prospect of her own madness is amusing. Her laugh, despite her slender stature, is not particularly delicate. It reminds you, perhaps unkindly, of the betraying of a horse. You are ashamed of thinking such a thing, though, and your face flushes with the guilt of it. We cannot all be well-bred young ladies, you know. Still, the laughter of the gravedigger, as it echoes through the gray, gloomy sky, is strangely desperate. It sounds forced. Her smile, too, is a touch unnatural, the rictus grin of a corpse. You find, despite your attempts to return her laughter with a polite giggle, that you can't. You cannot help but pity her. You retreat indoors briefly after your talk with the gravedigger, then set about some simple chores. The gravedigger trusts you well enough to manage sweeping the floor, a task which does not take particularly long, and the preparing of the meals, a task which takes slightly longer. It is not until much later, however, once the sun has already sunk beneath the horizon and the moon is high in the sky, that the gravedigger returns from the outdoors. She is windswept after many hours spent exposed to the elements, and there is dirt caked beneath her fingernails. The gravedigger removes her cloak, which she hangs by the door, then looks to the pot suspended over the fire, a fire which you stoked with your own fair hands. The scent of cooking food, that of garlic and onions, fills the air, suffusing the interior of the kitchen in a homey aroma which makes your stomach grumble. Yum, yum, yum. Taking stock of this, the gravedigger smiles. A toothy smile which, despite her status as a lowly peasant, is surprisingly clean and bright and white. Thank you so much, dear one. There's nothing like returning home after a hard day's work to find dinner already prepared. Now, let me give it a test. The gravedigger dips a spoon into the soup, then brings it to her lips. She blows upon it. Then she places the spoon into her mouth, the wooden utensil clacking against her teeth. You observe this with a touch of anxiety. Will she like the food which you have prepared for her? You have cooked for her before, in the past, and she was always very complimentary of your efforts. Cooking is not your forte, however. You never had to concern yourself with it, really, growing up in a relative comfort as you did. You think that you enjoy this ritual, rustic mode of existence more than you did any of the privileges of your past life. At least now, with the gravedigger, you have a steadfast friend, a staunch ally. When you are with her, you are not alone, and that is worth its weight in gold. The gravedigger exclaims, after drawing the spoon from her lips, her smile, a bright, guileless one. It's delicious! Your face flushes at this compliment. You are unaccustomed to receiving them, and it makes you feel good. Shyly, you ask the gravedigger if she truly means that, a query which makes the gravedigger smile. Of course I mean it. You've become quite good at cooking, really. That is a relief. You were not very good at all of this cooking malarkey at the very beginning. You did not know how to handle a knife, nor how to peel a vegetable, and you cut yourself more than once. You bled into the soup on several occasions, but never once did you throw the sullied soup out. The gravedigger lives a humble existence, and she cannot afford to waste her precious ingredients. Your soups, during your stay, have all been seasoned with the slightest hint of iron. Today's soup, however, is a marked step above all the rest. You did not cut yourself with the knife, not even once. Maybe your companion's compliments are not empty fluff. Maybe you really are improving. The soup should be ready to serve. I have some bread too, that we can eat it with. But, oh, I should brew some tea too. Let me. Ah, yes, the tea. You knew you were forgetting something. You were so focused on the soup, it must have slipped your mind. Your face flushes yet again at this oversight, and shyly you offer to correct it. The gravedigger, however, waves your request aside. No, it's alright. You made the dinner, so I'll brew the tea. It's only fair, and it won't take that long. Would you mind serving up the soup while I'm busy? Of course you would not mind. You do enjoy making yourself useful. For a lady, you are awfully domestic. You work alongside the gravedigger to finish your nightly meal, and together you serve it, soup and bread, alongside 2 cups of piping hot tea, prepared by your hostess's own 2 hands. You sit together at the table, then partake in the simple fare after saying grace. The soup really is quite good, despite it being made from only the most commonplace of ingredients. There is a bit of kick to it, and warms you from the inside out. The tea, meanwhile, is very soothing, so much so, it makes you feel rather sleepy. You would like to sit with the gravedigger for a little longer and tell stories, as you have sometimes in the past. That, or play cards. The nights are long, and there is no better way to pass them than spending time with her. Games of Old Maid, alas, will have to wait. You are too tired for it. You do not know what has happened, but after consuming your victuals, you feel utterly fatigued. You explain your predicament to the gravedigger between your yawns, and she nods in a response. That's all right. You don't need to stay up with me. Not if you ain't up to it. You should head off to bed and rest that pretty head of yours. You do not think you are particularly pretty, but you presume that the gravedigger is just regurgitating a phrase to you. She does not truly mean it. How could she? She is far prettier than you are. You thank the gravedigger for her understanding, then rise from the table. The gravedigger does have riz. The gravedigger is Mama. She's Mama for this Mama's Day. You retreat to the spare bedroom on trembling legs, then change out of your clothes. You have only just slid into your nightgown when you hear the rapping of knuckles upon your door, light and unobtrusive. This rapping, of course, belonged to but one person. It is the gravedigger, come to check upon you. I'm sorry, the gravedigger says, her voice soft, but you rushed to your room so soon after eating. I couldn't help but worry about you. Would you mind if I come take a look at you? I just want to see if you're all right. The gravedigger is trying to keep her voice steady, but you can hear it wavering regardless. She really does sound concerned. So much so, she could very well be on the brink of tears. You do not want her to cry for you. You would feel horribly guilty if you upset her, even inadvertently, given all that she has done for you. You bid the gravedigger entry into your room, therefore, without further delay, an invitation she hastens to take. The door is swinging inwards with a creak, and there your hostess stands, still attired in black, her clothes a stark contrast to your pure white, well, off-white, nightgown. The gravedigger looks at you, seated in bed with your hair freed from your unusual braids. Your usual braids, and exhales. Is that relief, you wonder, playing about her face? But why? What was she expecting to see exactly before entering your bed chamber? Thank you for letting me in, the gravedigger says, toying with her fingers. How do you feel? Not too terrible, you reassure her. There are no particular problems with your health. You just feel tired. Are you sure you're not sick? Your face does look a bit pale. That would be nothing out the norm. You are always pale. True. Now, is there anything I could do for you? Would you like something warm to drink? Or maybe a hot brick to place in your bed? It should keep you warm. You appreciate your hostess's thoughtfulness, but you reassure her that won't be necessary. You'll be fine. I hope so. I thought that about my father too before he... The gravedigger begins, but her voice soon trails off. She does not finish that thought. She does not need to. You know now what she was thinking of before she entered your bedroom. Cold, clammy skin, a sweating brow, rank, oozing postulates. You think upon these symptoms, which are eerily similar to those recounted during the Great Plague, which once beset your own country, and you shudder. If you don't want anything, then I'll be on my way, the gravedigger says. But before that, this was just a fancy on my part, but I was wondering, would you mind if I brushed your hair for a little while? Your hair? That's right. It's such a pretty shade of red is all. I just thought, well, it's just a fancy, really. You don't have to let me, not if you don't want to, but I thought it might help you relax if you're feeling under the weather. I've heard that it's supposed to be soothing. That is what the gravedigger says, but you have the distinct feeling that she is the one looking for solace here. She is not quite so selfish, perhaps, as she would like you to think. But she has been so very good to you, and has done so very much for you, that you do not want to begrudge her this small self-indulgence. You rather think she deserves it. You agree, therefore, to her request, and upon doing so, you are certain you have made the right choice. Your hostess's face lights up immediately, in a manner which makes you blush. Oh, thank you. It'd be my honor. Now, let me fetch my brush. The gravedigger retreats from your room in a hurry, but returns soon thereafter, holding in her right hand the promised brush. The artifact acquired, the gravedigger then settles herself upon your bed by your side. She looks at your hair for a few moments, her expression pensive. Then she announces that she will begin. The gravedigger leans in. The wooden frame of the bed creaks under her weight, a creak which nods with the sighing of the breeze outdoors. You can feel the bristles of the brush running through your hair. It is soothing enough, so much so that it makes you shiver. This is so much exposition for anime waifu gravedigger wants to brush your hair so far. It really is. I agree with you, Cinefix. The sensation is a pleasant one and somewhat nostalgic. Did your mother do this for you, you wonder, when you were a little girl? If she did, it must have been when you were a very little girl. You have not seen your mother in quite some time, not after you enrolled at the conservatory. It does help you visualize. That's true, Critter. That's true. I need another drink of water. Or G Fuel. My mouth gets so dry when I'm reading sometimes. Oh, you have such lovely hair, dear one. It's soft, just like silk. Not at all like mine. Mine is so coarse. This gentle voice draws you out of your vague, half-formed reminiscences. It sounds as though the gravedigger is lost in nostalgia of her own, because her voice, when she speaks, is dreamy. They just need to kiss already. I think my mother used to brush my hair like this for me, back when she was still alive. That must have been a long time ago, though. It is funny, you think, as the bristles of the brush continue to slide down your tresses, that you and the gravedigger should both be reminiscing in tandem about your respective mothers. Perhaps there is something maternal in the act of brushing one's hair, which is wont to summon forth such images. I would not know personally. I cannot remember my own mother at all. I don't think I liked having my hair brushed very much, the gravedigger continues, her breath warm against the exposed nape of your neck. My mother used to complain that I squirmed too much. I can remember that. She always told me to sit still. Though it wasn't my fault I squirmed, she used too much force. Now this is curious. It sounds as though the reminiscences of the gravedigger are not particularly fond after all. Did she not get along well with her mother? I can't rightly say, the gravedigger replies, in a somber sort of a voice. I was young, like I said, when she died. I really don't remember her too well. But I don't think she ever had that much time for me. She was too busy with all of the cooking and the cleaning. Oh, and looking after my baby brothers. But she had time enough, despite that, to brush your hair. She did what she felt she had to make me look presentable. Not that it really worked. I wasn't like the other girls in the village, you see, who liked to sit indoors with their mothers, and so I'd always loved the outdoors. My father said I inherited that from him. Ruefully, the gravedigger smiled, not that you can see it with her back facing her. My mother said I wasn't very, well, maidenly. She didn't like that I always traipsed around outside after my father, watching as he dug graves. She said it wasn't appropriate, like I was some sort of princess wearing a fine dress. The gravedigger snorts. I used to get a bit muddy, yes, and maybe I did get burrs in my clothes and knots in my hair, but it shouldn't have mattered. It's not like I had any hopes of marrying a prince no matter what my mother said. But still she hoped. She had a lot of hopes, my mother. High hopes. I think she might have resented my father, maybe, for working such a menial job. Our profession is an honest one, but it's never made much money. I think my mother was hoping for fine jewels and dresses and... oh, I don't know. She always had ideas. Her head was full of fairy tales. It was a shame, I suppose, that her reality didn't match up to what she wanted. I didn't match up to what she wanted. The bitterness in your friend's voice is unmistakable, so much so you want to console her. What would you say to her, though? You never met your companions, mother. You never will either. Her cold, inert body has been lying in the graveyard, buried beneath a tombstone, for over a decade. You have no way of ascertaining whether your companion's mother truly cared for her. You do have intelligence, though, enough to understand that poorly thought out condolences can cause more harm than good. You would not like it if people tried to reassure you that, of course, your father loved you really. If he loved you, then why did he send you away from home? Why did he never send you any letters? You know he was worried about his finances, but that seems a poor excuse to pretend that his only daughter did not exist. As for your own mother, meanwhile, She was nice, at least you think she was, but she was woefully ineffectual. Though she was nominally an adult, she always cleaved before your father's judgment. You think that she was afraid of him. You do not try to tell the gravedigger, therefore, that her mother loved her, that she must have done, else she would not have given birth to her. Instead, you sit there, letting the brush run through your hair, and you say quietly that you understand. Sometimes you feel like a disappointment in yourself. Well, the gravedigger says after a long pause, I'm glad I'm not the only one. I guess it happens to all of us. You guess so. Parents are only people after all. While one would hope one's parents would be kind and attentive, they too can fall victim to caprices of their own. Just because one has brought a child into this world, it does not mean it will be able to take care of it properly. Not all parents are responsible, just as not all people are responsible. It is a painful subject. Oh well, it's alright if my mother never liked me, or even if she never loved me. I know my father did, and that's all that matters to me. He was always there for me, no matter what. Your companion's voice catches in her throat. She winces. At least, until he wasn't. He died, and I didn't do a thing to help him. Your companion's shoulders are beginning to shake. You still cannot see her, but you can feel her body convulsing. You can sense her loneliness rolling off her in waves. It is all-consuming, like the waters of a deep, dark ocean. Grief anew pierces your heart, not on your behalf, but for the sake of your benefactress. She does not deserve to suffer so much. This you have no qualms with telling her. You turn to face her and pluck the brush, which has been hovering in the air from her fingers. Then you let her know that her father's death was not her fault. What could she have done? She could not have cured his illness. I know, but I can't help but think, what if? I keep racking my head over and over trying to come up with something. But I can't think of anything. And even if I could, it's too late. He's already dead. He's dead and buried. I buried him. And now I'm all alone. She might have been all alone, you tell the gravedigger, but she isn't now, not anymore. How can she be when you're there? I know that, I know, and I'm grateful, but I don't know if I deserve it. Why would she not deserve your company? You don't understand. Because I couldn't do nothing for nobody. My father always looked out for me when I was a little girl, but when he needed me the most, I failed him. I failed everyone. All the villagers, all of my friends, all died. What would I do if the same thing happened to you? I don't think I could bear it. I don't want you getting sick too, not when I care about you so much. I thought I'd gotten used to being on my own, but now that you're here, it's making me worry all over again. I've been worrying so much I can't sleep from it. I'm scared. Your companion's voice catches in her throat. Then she collapses in on herself. She leans forward, her arms wound about her middle as if to steady herself, and she cries. She cries and she cries and she cries. For a few moments, you look at the gravedigger, unsure of what to do. Her pale face, streaked with silvery tears, seems to flicker in the candlelight. Her shoulders, which seem too slender to bear the accumulative weight of all the sorrows she has endured, are shaking. Your fatigue continues to cling to you, as insistent as the fog which rolls amongst the tombstones in the graveyard at night. You are not so tired, however. You cannot offer your hostess some comfort. You don't know what to say to console her. You feel too weary to think of pretty sophisms. Sophisms? Sophisms? I don't know how to pronounce that word. But there is something you could think of. You would not typically be so bold, of course, but you are tired enough for once to throw caution to the wind. Kiss her, please kiss her. That and the tears of the gravedigger are awfully arresting. Oh, we got a hug. It's not a kiss, but it is a hug. We finally get to see kinda what the protagonist looks like, because this whole time we haven't seen the protagonist. She has pink hair. Cute. You open your arms, and before the gravedigger can pass comment, you pull her to your chest. Oh. A soft exclamation escapes the lips of the gravedigger, quieter than the sound of wintry snow as it brushes the ground. Then there is nothing. The gravedigger is stiff in your arms for a few moments, like the corpses she and her father used to seal away inside their wooden coffins. She is all wide-eyed and awkward, pointed elbows, tears still coursing down her pale cheeks. You worry briefly as you hold her that you have, perhaps, made a mistake. Were your attempts at consoling her too clumsy? You wouldn't know. You've never been in a situation like this before. You have never consoled any friends before because you have never had any friends to console. It is not so now, however. You are as far away from your old life as it's possible to be, and the gravedigger does not curse you for your impudence. Impudence. I think the correct pronunciation is impudence. Neither does she try to squirm away from you. Instead, she sits there, still as a statue, cradled in your arms. Oh, I'm very sorry to show you something so embarrassing. It's just, I get so lonely sometimes. Until at long last, with a breathy sob, she lets the full weight of her body fall against yours. You run your hands against your sobbing companion's shoulder blades and her back, and gently you soothe her. You tell her that she does not need to apologize. There is no shame in crying. You hug her for many, many minutes while she sobs against your chest, wetting the front of your nightgown. No further words pass between you that night, but they do not need to. Words are irrelevant in a moment as tender as this, shared between two souls who have come to understand one another through mutual loneliness. You slide beneath your sheets. You still feel exhausted, and the gravedigger joins you without asking for permission. It would be an unnecessary piece of politeness, really, given your acceptance is all but assured. You've already accepted the gravedigger, after all, every single inch of her. You have accepted her hospitality. You have accepted her food. Now you are accepting her company. You arrange yourself beneath the sheets, then draw her body to yours. The gravedigger has not yet changed into her nightwear. Her clothes will be horribly rumpled when she awakes come the following morning, her head resting against your chest. But tomorrow has ceased to matter. It no longer exists. There is no concept of time between the two of you, no thought of the day which will dawn once this night inevitably ends. Instead, there is only the warmth shared between you and the wetness on the cheeks of the gravedigger. There is the sound, irregular now, and less intense than before, of your companion's muted, muffled sobs. There is the gentle, tender moment snatched in the midst of a deep, dark night which can never be replaced. Your eyelids feel heavy as though weighted down with stones. They drop inexorably downwards, pulling you like a drowning maiden into the dark, impenetrable abyss of slumber. You yawn. Then you fall asleep, cozied up beside the gravedigger like two cats in a basket. You sleep and you sleep and you sleep more deeply than you have allowed yourself in quite some time. But when you awake, you find that you are no longer in the bed upon which you slept in, shrouded by sheets. The gravedigger, too, is nowhere to be seen. Instead, you are quite alone, lying by yourself in the dark. You blink, but your surroundings do not become any clearer. Is it the middle of the night? Perhaps you were roused from your slumber by the desire to relieve yourself, or else to slake your thirst. Your sleep has been awfully disordered as of late, and the smallest of noises have been enough to disturb you. That does not sound quite right, though. You slept well. Of that you are certain. Your body feels invigorated, as though it has slumbered for hours and hours. How many hours? You don't know. You do not know much of anything. You could feel a strange pinching sensation around your chest, however, and around your arms. It would appear as though somebody, but who else could it have been save the gravedigger, changed your attire while you were sleeping? That is a startling thought, but the darkness which entombs you is even more so. The darkness which surrounds you is unsettlingly complete. It is so thick you cannot penetrate it. Your newfound woes do not stop, however. At this deep, unnatural darkness, it is cold too, and you are lying upon something hard? Some sort of stone slab? What's going on? You reach out, but your movements are soon stymied. There is something heavy lying atop you, something that is limiting your movements. Did our waifu bury us? It's starting to look like our waifu might have buried us. You were anxious before upon awakening, but at this discovery, you feel downright aggrieved. A sharp prong of panic pierces you, but you try to suppress it. Hysterics will get you nowhere. In most cases, they only tend to make bad situations even worse. You ought to know that already. You swallow your mounting dread as best as you can, though it is coming on thick and fast, and try to squirm. You move your arms outwards, but they do not get very far. There is a wall above you, and walls on either side of you, walls which do not budge, no matter how hard you push. Not, I must add, that you can push particularly hard. Your anxious state now is standing. You have never had much in the way of upper body strength, nor lower body strength. You don't have much in the way of strength at all. You feel quite helpless as you lie there, out of breath from your meager exertions, unsure of what you should do. You can hardly see the foot in front of your face. You don't know where you are, nor why, but a terrible premonition is beginning to bear down upon you, one which initially you tried to discard. You did not want to accept it as a possibility, but where else could the truth lie? You are lying in a box, hemmed in by walls which offer only a scant few inches for you to stretch in any direction. Where else could you be but a coffin? The moment you allow yourself to ponder this awful reality is the moment you hear it. The irregular sound of drumming. It is It's as though somebody, though they must be a very large somebody, is tapping their fingerprints upon the lid of your coffin. That, or it's raining. It's not the fingers of a giantess, though, which is disturbing you, nor is it falling rain. It is dirt. The sound continues, on, as though it is drilling its way inside your skull. It is relentless. It is merciless. Gravedigger waifu buries you ASMR. Like the tickling of a great celestial clock, it cannot be stopped. Your time is almost running out. But you knew that already, didn't you? When you were running through the forest. You ought to have known, silly thing, that you could not outpace your destiny forever. Sooner or later, it would catch up with you. You are stubborn, though, and you do not want to accept this. Not content to simply lie there, you cry out. You cry for your parents whom you hardly knew, nor for your school friends. For you never had any. Oh no, you cry not for your parents. Instead, you cry out for your new companion. Thank you for the head pats, Ezekiel. Thank you. I don't know if you guys know this, but I lowered the prices for all the channel point redeems. So that way you can use them more often. The girl whom you had been living and with whom you shared one precious cherished moment. You cry out for the gravedigger. Beniwi. Beniwi. Hi, Integra Gaming. Hi. Ezekiel, you are my pog champ. Surely, this is some manner of mistake. Once she realizes that you are, in fact, entombed in one of the coffins she is currently filling, for who else would she be moving the dirt above you? She will cease her operations at once. She will pull you out of the darkness, back into the world of the living, and then she will hold you close. She will embrace you. She cannot mean to cause any harm to you, not when she was so good to you, not when she was so kind. Why would she bury you? You cry to her so loudly you fear your vocal cords might tear, all while banging against the roof of your compact prison. You cry desperately, helplessly, and to your relief, your cries do not fall upon deaf ears. The sound of the falling soil stops, albeit briefly. Then you hear a voice. The voice is very faint, given it's being filtered through your coffin's dirty lid, but you recognize it. So you're awake then, are you, dear one? The gravedigger says. She sighs. Then she says in a perplexed sort of voice, "Now that is a pickle. I was hoping you'd be asleep for a couple more hours, so the last time we spoke could have been on better terms. If you keep screaming like that, I'm gonna feel bad." Your companion's words, though distant, are unmistakable. You are so dense. You are attuned to every single syllable, and each of them makes you gasp. Was this not a mistake then? Does she truly mean to bury you alive? You persist this question to the gravedigger as best you can, trying to keep the tremors from your voice as you do. Perhaps you think, in your optimism, that if you do not let her know how afraid you are, she will reward you for your bravery and let you go. If this is what you are hoping, though, it's in vain. That's right, you really do catch on quick. So it would appear she really has committed to the task of burying you. What an unfortunate turn of events. Why, though, would she do such a thing? You thought she was your friend. We are friends, the gravedigger says, her voice still worryingly offhand, worryingly empty. I'm very fond of you. There's nobody dearer to me than you. I've had a really good time with you these last How long's it been again? I don't remember. Neither do you. Well, if this little detail has slipped both of your minds, it can't be all that important. You have other things to worry about. If you really are friends, you say to the gravedigger, then what does she gain? What does she hope to gain by burying you? You don't understand. But you understand her reply even less. Well, here's the thing, the gravedigger says in a reasonable sort of voice, as though burying somebody alive could ever be thought of as a reasonable action. I've been digging graves for a long time, see? You cannot see, it's too dark, but you affirm that you do all the same. Well, I was digging all these graves, but I've not had anybody to put them in, not for ages. It was rather sad. You think you know where this train of logic, twisted though it is, might be going, so you do not interrupt her. You know no good would come of it. All you can do for the present is lie there and listen. I was thinking I'd never find another person to bury in this godforsaken village. Not after the plague messed everything up. I was getting desperate. Until you came along, that is. Now that I have somebody I could bury, I'm not gonna let the opportunity pass by me. I'm sorry, but this is just part of my job. It's what my father taught me to do. It's all I know how to do. I buried my mother and I buried my father. I buried all of my friends. Now I'm going to bury you too. It is sound logic in a sense. As the daughter of a gravedigger, digging graves is our job, but something about it wrinkles you. If only you could put your finger on it. Ah, yes. There is a bit of flaw within her reasoning, is there not? You are not dead, after all. You might not be dead now, the gravedigger says, in response to your ingenuity, but you will be, if given enough time. I mean, everybody else I've ever known's died. Who's to say you wouldn't be next? It seems rather more likely that you will die, and quickly, if she persists with her poorly thought out plan to bury you. Your coffin's not very large. It affords you precious little space. Eventually, if trapped within it for too long, you will run out of oxygen. Then you will suffocate. That, or you will starve to death. Either way, your demise will be a slow, painful one. You are unsure which death would be worse, though, given how precarious your situation is, you do not wish to expend the necessary energy needed to ponder it. You need to plead with the gravedigger, and quickly, was she still here. You tell her tearfully that you would not leave her. Why would you? You try to sound as convincing as your disordered nerves will allow, but the gravedigger remains unmoved. You say that, she says, but how can I know you're telling me the truth? I thought you said you were a traveler. They never stay put in one place for long. You'd get sick of me before long, then you'd leave me. This way, at least, I can be assured that we'll always stay together. If I bury you like I did the others, we'll never be far apart. I even took care to put you in a nice spot, close to my home, so you're always only a stone throw away, really. Isn't that nice? Privately, you think that the gravedigger has a different conception of the word nice than you do. You do not say this, however. You cannot say much of anything, because the panic has begun to set in. It is choking you, stopping up your throat so you can only cry. You scream. You beg and you plead, but it does little good. The gravedigger has already buried her mother. She has already buried her little brothers. She has even buried her father, whom she loved above all else. She thinks by burying you, she is doing unto you an act of great kindness. You think that she is going to kill you. In a sense, you are both right. Your opinions are so diametrically opposed on this matter, however, that you will never be able to find any common ground. You might as well save your screaming. She will not listen to you. She is beyond listening. Shush, shush, dear one, says the gravedigger, very gently, just as gently as she spoke last night when she confided in you all of her fears. It won't be so bad, really. Nothing will be able to hurt you down there. It'll just be like going to sleep for a really, really long time. You can rest, and while you rest, I'll tend to you. I'll plant flowers on your grave. You'd like that, wouldn't you? This way we can always be together. And I'll never be lonely again. While the gravedigger speaks, she begins to pile even more soil onto the roof of your coffin. The sound of dirt on top of you, on your arms, your legs, and your head conceals your companion's final words. You cannot hear her. You cannot hear anything beyond the sounds of the dirt and the scrapings of the shovel and your own desperate, frantic screams. You scream and you scream and you scream without cease until your throat feels hoarse, but your efforts are in vain. You hammer on the lid of the coffin with as much strength as you can muster, but the lid of the coffin is nailed shut. You are in no position to remove it. All you can do is lie there screaming and crying and banging your fists on the roof of the coffin over and over as more dirt and debris falls on top of you. Ah, I saw Cinefix, another head pat. Thank you for the head pat, Cinefix. I'm sorry if that took me a minute. I didn't see it. Eventually, enough dirt falls on you to stifle your screams for good. The gravedigger can no longer hear you, and you can no longer hear her. You are all alone, trapped in a narrow wooden box, which, regardless of what you want, is now your new home. You can smell the soil in the backs of your nostrils when you inhale. It is so potent you can taste it on your tongue. You can taste the eventual, inevitable decay of your own body. You will remain trapped here, underground, forever and ever. Or, to use less melodramatic terms, until the last of your energy escapes you and you succumb to your own slow suffocation. It isn't a very pleasant way to go. But you'll forgive me if my sympathy is limited. You did bring this upon yourself, you know. You reap what you sow, and in your case, you made a series of bad decisions which led to your untimely demise. Now, what do you want to do? Will you accept this fate of yours and rest in peace, or will you try to fight against it? Oh, I get to choose! What do you think, chat? Should we die, or should we try to fight? What should we do? What should we do? I feel like we should try to fight it. If we die, the game will probably end. Yeah, let's fight, let's fight. Thank you, Cinefix and Ezekiel. We shall fight. Are you not happy with the hand that fate has dealt you? Mama didn't raise no coward. Very well. I can't blame you. It is quite a grim ending. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy, and you are rather dear to me than that. Who is narrating? It almost sounds like we have a narrator who is not the MC, who knows the MC, so now I'm curious. Now why don't we give this another go? Just try not to be buried alive this time. I can only endure so much of your screaming. Your fate is, once again, in your hands. Now I wonder, which path will you take? Oh, it's taking us back to the fork in the road. Okay, I'm curious. I want to go to the shore this time. I want to go to the beach. I like the beach. So, you want to go to the shore. Good idea. What will you discover there, I wonder? The night is far from over, and there are any number of adventures still waiting for you. I hope that you have prepared yourself in advance, and I do hope for your sake that you have learned how to swim. I have a sinking suspicion that the skill might come in handy. You follow the path which leads to the shore, supporting yourself on weary, aching limbs which feel ready to snap at the knee beneath the burden of your weight. You are little more than a wisp of a girl, but you have been running for so very long, and your feet are so very numb, you feel like a great lumbering thing. You need to lie down, and quickly. You only hope as you continue to run that you will find a means to escape your current predicament by the shore. You don't know what awaits you, but you have visions of a harbor extending out to the horizon, cradling a fleet of white-sailed fishing vessels. Surely there will be a kindly fisherman who will be willing to take you far, far away on his boat to a place where your pursuer will not be able to find you. You can imagine, too, the face of this kindly fisherman, a face you will have lifted from fairy tales you read in abundance as a small child. He will have thick bushy eyebrows and a dark brown beard streaked through with gray. I don't know, he does not sound attractive to me, but go off, queen. He will look intimidating at a glance, but he will be fiercely protective of you, just like a father. You don't know what fathers are supposed to be like. You are only imagining. It is your imagination, however, which grants you the strength needed to keep going. You run to the shore. It takes some time before you finally emerge from the woods, but finally, you do it. How much time, you ask? I can't answer that. Did I not say time had begun to lose all its meaning? The forest is behind you now, at least, and all the awful nightmares that lurk within it. It is still cold, though, and still foggy. It's still dark, too. The sun has yet to rise. You can see the moon more clearly now as it hangs above your head, round as any pearl orb or crystal ball. The moonlight shines down upon the vertiginous cliffs, which plummet sharply downwards to an array of sharp, spiky rocks below. You felt, upon escaping the woods, a degree of hope, but the sight of these weather-blasted cliffs gives you pause. You inhale. Then you frown. Now what are you gonna do? You didn't think this plan of yours through very well. Not that you've had much in the way of a plan in the first place. There's little in the way of civilization here. The cliffs are far from the village. How far? You don't know. And you can't see any houses. Where exactly will you rest your weary head? And what of your weary legs? Ooh, I like this music. Fitfully, you look around. There is nobody to your east, nor is there anybody to your west. There is no point in looking south. That's the way you came. And when you look to the north, the world falls away from you. The cliffs are too steep to scale, and it is too dark. Naturally, there is not a soul here to help you. You are on your own. You feel so overwhelmed you could very well cry. You do not cry, however. You know that tears have never helped anyone. You got yourself into this mess. Now you need to get yourself out of it. It is with this thought in mind that you inhale a lungeful of salty oceanic air. Then you begin your exploration in earnest. You keep away from the edge of the cliffs, afraid that you might slip and take a sudden, unfortunate tumble into the abyss below. You are not as attached to your mobile body as some humans are, but you don't want to die. You still care for yourself, if only a little. and it is this sense of self-preservation which compels you onwards. You glance this way and that way, depressing the tall grass beneath your shoes as you search for a place of shelter. Surely there must be somewhere. You can't see any likely-looking settlements, but what is that over yonder? Could that be a roof? You hurry onwards, hope budding anew in your heart, until at long last you reach your destination. There is a house after all. Out here in the wilds, though it doesn't at a glance look very welcoming. The solitary house that you have discovered, not so far from the cliffs, is rather unremarkable. It's so small and squat, you can't imagine it contains within it more than one floor. You cannot even imagine that it contains much more than one room. Though it is dark, not dark enough to mask that the cottage has something of a slant to it. It's leaning listlessly to one side, like a drunken sailor. The thatched roof, meanwhile, which tops this dwelling, has certainly seen better days. There is a hole in the thatch. There are several holes, in fact, and parts of it look particularly bare, almost bald. That is rather concerning. Should it rain, you will not be particularly protected from the elements. Can you really stay the night in such a place? You have some misgivings. But do your misgivings matter really when there's nowhere else to go? I don't know. Last time we ignored our misgivings, we got buried alive, so maybe we should start paying attention to those. It's not as though you have any other options. It's with a sense of defeat, therefore, that you approach the cottage which sticks out of the earth like a tombstone. Part of you wants to turn back, but you know that would be foolish. The windows of the cottage are dark, but that does not necessarily mean it's empty. It is rather late at night after all. Whoever lives here, if indeed anybody does live here, might be asleep. You can't imagine the owners of this cottage will appreciate being roused so very late at night. You can't let yourself worry too much about these small details, however. Otherwise, you will never get anywhere. You swallow. The taste of the salty breeze is pungent in the back of your nostrils. Then you rap the knuckles of your right fist on the door. You rap quietly at first, but you don't hear any resultant shuffling inside the cottage. Perhaps you did not use enough strength. Emboldened, you rap your knuckles on the door for a second time, more loudly this time. You wait a few moments, but still, you can't hear anything. Perhaps the cottage is unoccupied after all. You knock for a third time, then wait. The third time is, as they say, the charm. But for all that, your knocking goes unanswered. Well, nobody can say that you did not try. More intrigued now than anxious, your fingers find the handle of the door. You pull it down, and to your surprise, it yields easily. The door swings back for you, as if by magic. It feels almost as if this was preordained. You step foot inside the cottage, which is very dark, and glance around. If it's hard to see, given the lateness of the hour, well, it is hard to see given the lateness of the hour, but the cottage's interior is about as inspiring as its exterior, which is to say, not very. It is every bit as small and as cramped as you fancied when you observed it from the outside. There are a few cupboards which line the walls, a wood fire which has been extinguished, and a straw pallet on the floor which must function as a bed. Your search is unsuccessful, however, when it comes to trying to locate other humans. You cannot find another soul. Surely that is to your benefit, though. If nobody else lives here, you might as well make yourself at home. Or as at home as one can be, I suppose. In a small, cramped cottage such as this, with holes on the roof. You close the door behind you, then approach the straw pallet. All of a sudden, you feel incredibly weary. The tiredness that assails your body is absolute, so intense it overcomes the last of your concerns. You settle down upon the straw pallet, yawning as you do. It is not comfortable, but being able to lie down eases some of your aches and pains. Lying down, even on an uncomfortable makeshift bed such as this one, is still better than standing. It is far, far better than running. Your eyelids fall shut, your lashes melting together, and soothed by the sounds of the wind and the distant rolling of the waves, you fall asleep. Then you begin to dream. It's not uncommon, of course, to dream. The best and the worst of us did it, from queens in their castles to peasants sleeping in the straw. Why, who is to say that all you have observed tonight has not, in a sense, been a dream of its own? Would that make your nighttime fancies, then, a dream inside a dream? Perhaps our dreams are empty, hollow things, stacked inside one another, like little wooden dolls. Is that not a whimsical thought? How very droll. Your dreams, however, cannot be called whimsical, and neither are they particularly droll. They are not pure fabrications, as dreams sometimes are, fleeting fancies which can never come to pass. Your dreams are of a rather more pernicious sort. In your dreams, you are at the conservatoire, with your red hair tied back into prim, proper braids. You are walking through the courtyard, clutching your books to your chest as you make your way to the library. Your head is bowed, so as not to look at the faces of your passing classmates. You don't want to meet their eyes. These girls with their sensible braids and their sensible shoes are merciless. You hunch your shoulders together in this dream of yours, so as to not draw their attention. But alas, it's not enough. You stumble, clumsy little thing that you are, and you fall, and just like that, all eyes are upon you. They are staring at you. They are laughing at you. You lay there on the ground, by the fountain, your books scattered and your skirt in a woeful state of disarray. Your knee hurts. Is it bleeding? You examine your injured leg, trying not to cry, and as this transpires, you hear a voice. One of your classmates is calling out to you. She has acknowledged you. You look up shyly, tears beating in your eyes, at a girl taller than you and prettier and much more refined. She extends her hand towards you. Does she mean to help you? It can't hurt to try, can it? Hesitantly, you reach out and accept her offered aid. Her fingers curl around yours tightly, perhaps too tightly. Her nails dig into your skin. It hurts. Deftly, this girl pulls you to your feet. Your legs feel weak from your fall, and your knee is still aching, still bleeding. You stumble, feeling out of sorts, but you are not afforded much of an opportunity to gather your bearings. The girl's hands are on your shoulders. She's laughing at you. Then she is pushing you. The sound of the fountain and the running water which drums against its basin is all of a sudden very loud, overwhelming. It surrounds you. Then it engulfs you. It is as cold as ice. You cannot breathe. The rushing of the water continues, echoing in your eardrums over and over, and then? No, you don't want to remember this. What good will it do? It is in the past, where the past ought to remain. You are never going to go back, not even in your dreams. It is this determination which forces you back into the world of the waking with a start. You gasp like a fish as you sit upright, your eyes unnaturally wide. You feel wearied from a lack of sleep, and with half-lidded eyes, you glance about. It's still dark inside your cottage. The sky visible from beyond the window splashed, still with stars. How long were you asleep? You're not sure. Your dream was so very detailed. It really did feel that you had been transported into a different time, into a different place. When you inhale, you can taste rank, foetid, that's such a weird word, foetid water in your mouth. Tentatively, you pat yourself down, your fingers trailing against the front of your uniform. So vivid was your dream, you half expect to find that your clothes are damp. This is not the case, however. You are, in fact, perfectly dry. Well, now what are you going to do? Will you go back to sleep? That sounds like the best option available to you. You are very tired, but your senses feel too overwrought, all of a sudden, for sleep. You don't think you could bear it. On unsteady legs, you rise to your feet, then stand by the window. You look out to the starry sky and to the pitted moon which hangs amongst them, and you frown. You could hear the wind outdoors, howling like an injured animal, and more softly, the ebb and flow of the waves as they meet the cliffs. But that is not all. What is that sound? Why is it almost like singing? The voice is far away enough that you can't pick out any individual words, nor even the individual syllables, but there is a haunting quality to it. The singer, whoever they are, possesses quite the pretty voice, high and clear like a bell. The song is a melancholy one which stirs your heart. Curiosity takes root inside you, as it did during that fateful day you found that book in the library. Logically, you know you should not go outdoors to seek the source of that singing, but emotionally, that is another matter altogether. You really should have learnt your lesson by now. You should know better than to go sticking your nose into business which does not concern you. But naughty little girls such as you never do learn. You cross the old fisherman's cottage as though in a dream, then reach the handle of the front door. The handle depresses easily enough beneath your grasping fingertips, and the door opens with a click. The rest of the world yawns before you, framed in the doorway, all of it bathed in moonlight. You thought it was cold inside the old cottage, but it is colder still now that the door is open. An unpleasant wind rushes forth to meet you, knifing mercilessly through the fabric of your uniform. You look across the cold, inhospitable landscape, your fingers clenched into fists at your side. Then you step out into the unknown. You canvass the cliff face, led by nothing more than that luxurious singing. So haunting and ethereal is this voice, as it hangs on the breeze. It would be enough to send 1,000 ships off to war. You keep walking into the night until you reach the very edge of the cliffs, where they drop downwards into empty air. You ought not to go any further, but the voice has yet to cease. You can still hear it echoing inside your head. It compels you to act. You look down at the shore, which seems like a dizzying distance away, then out to the ocean, which is breaking against the scattered rocks below. Your eyes narrow with determination. Then you take a step towards the cliff. These cliffs are steep, and the rocks below them are sharp. You can see them glinting in the darkness, their tips jagged like the teeth of hungry predators. The cold wind blows, rocking your hair, and you shudder from it. Your shoes are not built for scaling cliffs, and your heels do not have much in the way of purchase, particularly not when the cliffs are so steep. Clinging to the cliffs is no small feat, yet you are determined to ease yourself down onto the shore, in one piece preferably. The wind is so powerful, it feels as though there is something deliberately malicious to it. Oh boy, I sure hope we don't fall and die. You wonder during your descent if it means to knock you off your perch on purpose, to cast you down to the rocks below. Well, if that is what it wants, you refuse to give it the satisfaction. You could be awfully stubborn at times, and now is one of them. You continue to climb. How long have you been at it now? Until, at long last, your feet meet the shoreline below. Whoa, pretty. You have made it, and you did not sustain too many injuries. Your palms are throbbing, yes, after gripping those rocks, and you might have a few cuts, but your wounds are shallow and superficial. Things could have been worse. You flex your fingers. They feel uncomfortably numb and cold alongside it. Your skin is prickling, but at least you can still feel discomfort. At least it is still attached to your bones where it ought to be. Your vital organs can steal within the hollow cavity of your body. You have a lot to be thankful for. This night has, by and large, been quite successful. There are no longer any obstacles between you and the mysterious voice which lulled you outdoors. Now, you must find them. You set off down the shore on the hunt of the singing voice which has captivated you so. You sidestep sharp, jagged rocks which stood out of the sand like teeth. The rocks which cannot be circumnavigated, meanwhile, you clamber over. All the while, the sound of the sea mingles with that of the singing. It provides an ethereal, haunting backdrop to your exploration, one which further adds to the surreality of your moonlight stroll. The waves lap against the shore, then recede shyly, pushed and pulled by the bleached white moon which hangs overhead. The oceans that you have seen in your library books were all blue as sapphires, but this ocean is different. It is so late at night, it looks black instead. The undulating surface of the water reminds you of a mirror, though its depths are even deeper and much more mysterious. A sense of foreboding settles upon you, but you try to squash it. You will not let yourself be afraid. Oh, a mermaid! You round a corner, your feet unsteady in their sensible brown shoes, and then, at long last, you see her. There's a woman sitting upon a rock out in the ocean. The woman's eyes are closed, and her lips are parted, her expression soulful. She is singing. Her hair, which is fair, flutters around her face like a shroud, which adds to her otherworldly aura. Her eyes might be closed, but her lashes are long and luxuriant like a doll's. Her lips, meanwhile, which are parted in song, are soft like the freshly plucked petals of a flower. Her face is perfect, as are her proportions. Her neck is tall and slender like the stem of a flower. As for the lower half of her body, meanwhile, well, it's nothing like you have ever seen before. It is here, and here alone, that the woman betrays your narrow human definitions of beauty, for her legs are non-existent. Rather than two awkward appendages, this woman has instead the sleek, shimmering tail of a fish. Is she not, then, a human? She can't be, not with a tail like that. She's a mermaid. This unusual sight makes you gasp, and quite audibly at that. You don't mean to be rude, but you can't help yourself. Humans tend to react poorly to things they don't understand. At least you don't scream. That would be even ruder. Oh my. You meant to observe the mermaid from a distance, but it would appear that your shocked gasp was loud enough to attract her attention. The fish-tailed vision sitting upon the rock is looking at you. Her gaze is so piercing, it feels almost as if she is looking through you. Your heart seems to stop inside your chest, as if by some manner of magical spell. You thought the mermaid pretty when you first observed her, sitting on that outcrop of rock, her face turned in profile. Now she is looking at you, however. You can see that you were mistaken. She's not just pretty, she's beautiful, so much so it's almost unnerving. She looks as though she has stepped out of the pages of a picture book. She is simply too perfect to belong to this world. Perhaps she is some kind of vision, a waking dream, a hallucination. We said the same exact thing about the gravedigger, though, and we got buried alive. No, she's none of those things. Her tail might be an impossible thing, but its scales look slick and wet regardless, like those of any fish one might find at the marketplace. These scales are iridescent, and bathed beneath the light of the moon, they seem almost to glow. The sight of her rather takes your breath away. You look at the mermaid. She looks back at you. You prepare yourself, expecting some sort of altercation. But the surprise soon fades from the mermaid's face. The MC just like characters that can ruin their life. I can relate. The MC is actually a girl, so it would be she, her pronouns. She has pink hair and braids. So this is Yuri. This game has Yuri. Toxic Yuri. Her lips, which once were pursed in a frown, now shift upwards. She is smiling. I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back, guys. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, I'm back, guys. Let's keep reading the story. I think I'm gonna be able to finish this one. And then she says in a refined sort of voice, My, it really is good to see a human again, particularly a human girl. I was beginning to fear that your kind had all disappeared, and I would no longer have anybody left to tell me of the world above the waters. My, this is quite the effusive greeting. The mermaid's introductory speech is positively brimming with excitement of a sweet, girlish variety. She is rather more amicable than the fine polish of her syllables would make one suggest. Oh, polish, not Polish. You might be a very well-bred lady yourself, with an accent to match, but you cannot help but feel overwhelmed. Anxiously, you observe the mermaid, and you ask her what she means. What happened? As to that, I'm afraid I cannot say. I have been sitting on these rocks and singing for many, many nights, but nobody has come to see me. There have been no lovely humans for me to play with. I was beginning to wonder whether your kind had disappeared altogether. I feared some manner of calamity had occurred while I was slumbering beneath the water's surface, and your kind had been eradicated. You shudder, then reassure the mermaid to the contrary. You don't know about the humans she used to speak with, but you at least have not been eradicated. You are still here. Yes, well, I can see that, the mermaid answers with a light laugh. It really is a relief. My fellow merpeople who live beneath the waters told me not to worry so, but I could not help myself. I have always been fond of you humans. It was rather sobering, sitting here night after night all on my own. It gets so lonely here. There it is again! The title of the game. Now that is an interesting turn of phrase. It catches inside your head like a burr. Have you heard it before? So, dear human, did you say that you are unfamiliar with these parts? Hesitantly, you examine the mermaid. Thoughtlessly, though you might be at times, you are not so very self-centered that you cannot detect the note of longing in the mermaid's voice. It is evident as she looks at you that she is hoping for a particular answer to her query. This answer, alas, is not one that you can furnish her with. You don't want to lie to her. It is after some hesitation, therefore, that you reaffirm your earlier words, though this time you embellished them. You tell the mermaid that you are a traveler from a far-off land, one which is very dissimilar to this one. It is not a complete fabrication. You tell her that you have only just arrived by this shore, and you are unfamiliar both with your immediate surroundings and those further ahead. If there is a village nearby, then you have never set foot in it. You don't know what this village is like, nor how many inhabitants it boasts. You don't know if it's a calamity, as the mermaid grimly supposed, has struck this land. But if she fears all the humans within the immediate vicinity have been laid low by some mysterious malady, then she wouldn't need to worry overly on that score. You are still alive. Are you not, you wonder, enough to satiate her curiosity with the human realm? Yes, that is true. You are here. I am grateful, naturally, for your company, although... Wistfully, the mermaid sighs. I was rather hoping you might be able to bring me some news of the nearby village and of its inhabitants. They all dead. This makes you wonder. Was there a particular person from this village she was close to? So, you were able to work that much out, the mermaid answers, with a small smile. You are an intelligent one, aren't you? Your past professors would beg to differ on that score. You were always awful when it came to academics, mathematics in particular. You could never get your head around all the numbers. Your stern, stony face, math professors used to despair in you. But she is not here. None of them are here. It's just you now, and the mermaid, and she does not need to know about your dismal academic record. You allow yourself a small smile, touched by her compliment, and tell her that it was nothing more than a lucky guess. For a guess, it was remarkably accurate. You are quite right. I did have a close friend from the nearby village. She was very dear to me. Internally, you congratulate yourself on this piece of detective work. How very clever you are! There are many humans in this world, of that I know. The human who spoke with me, however, she was special. She was my human. You do not fail to catch the possessive note in the mermaid's voice. And I cherished her dearly. She would come to me on my rock, late at night, when she was finished with her chores, and we would talk. I asked her a good number of questions about the human realm and about her customs. I fear my endless inquiries must have been rather tedious, but she was always happy to indulge me. She never once scorned me for my ignorance, and neither did she make me feel like a fool. She always made time for me, no matter how many demands she had on her time. She was a farmer's daughter, and she was awfully busy from dawn until dusk, threshing hay and taking the animals out to pasture. She told me of her work, and I marveled at her. Slender though she was, she possessed a truly tremendous amount of strength. I, who have lived in the ocean all of my life, cannot countenance working as hard as she did, but she bore her burdens without complaining. She was not the prettiest human who has walked the earth, but that mattered not to me. Her conversation was engaging, and I knew through our continued encounters that she meant no ill will. She did not have even a single drop of malice in her heart. The wistful manner in which the mermaid speaks of her friend makes you feel, for a few brief moments, a flicker of some ugly, primordial emotion. Could it be jealousy? It is painful, isn't it, to hear others wax poetic about those they hold dear, particularly when you yourself have never been regarded in so intimate a manner. You have, for many, many years, been woefully alone. But you are not alone now. You're with a mermaid, and she is with you. And though she might prefer to be in the company of an industrious farmhand, the farmhand is not here. Where did she go? Oh, if only I knew. She quite simply disappeared one day, almost as if she had been whisked away by a wicked spirit. That seems like quite the anticlimactic ending for such a close relationship. Did the farmhand not tell her companion beforehand that she might one day disappear? No, she did not. Nothing of the sort happened. It was all very sudden. So you ask, feeling affronted by the mermaid's behalf, did she not give you any warning? Not a single one. And when you ask, did she disappear? I do not know, in truth. Time is a strange concept to beings such as myself. particularly as it seems to ebb and flow differently, both above and below the surface. You humans have a strange compulsion to pin down and to place labels upon everything. You have names for your seasons, and for your months, and even for your days of the week. It is all very precise. We merfolk, however, do not bother with such affairs, perhaps because we live for so much longer than you humans do. We have no need to obsessively document our days, not when we have so many of them at our disposal. This curious remark catches your attention. How long exactly do mermaids live for? The mermaid does not look much older than you do, but you can't help but wonder. My, nosy, aren't we? The mermaid asks, and she laughs, a soft tinkling sound like that of a bell, which makes you blush. Were you being nosy? Perhaps you were. You have always had a thirst for knowledge, not of the dry, dusty academic variety, but of stories peopled with strange persons. Literature was the only subject you were ever any good at. Again, it is hard for me to quantify, but to put it in terms a human like you can understand, I suppose we mermaids can live for centuries. Centuries? That is quite a surprise. But perhaps it shouldn't be. You have been subjected to any number of surprises tonight. What is one more to add to the pile? I have not been waiting quite that long, however, for my friend to return to me. I think it has been but a few seasons. It might not sound like much, but never before have I been so aware of the passage of time. I have experienced any number of wants during my life, but I have never wanted anything quite as badly as I want to see her. I wish she would sit with me and she would talk to me just one more time. But perhaps I am asking for an impossibility. I have been waiting for long enough now to presume that she will not be returning to me. I fear that something must have happened to her, or to her family, or perhaps to her whole village. You can hear the worry throbbing in the mermaid's voice, so potent that, for a few minutes, you swear you can feel the depths of her sorrow within your own breast. That's a strange place to, I guess because your chest, your heart is in your chest, that's why. I was like, that's a weird place to feel it, but alright. Her sadness over this human girl is a deep, dark thing, almost fathomless. You cannot let yourself indulge in it for too long. Otherwise, you fear you might drown in it. Ruefully, you tell the mermaid once more that you cannot help her. You are only a traveler after all. What do you know of a single insignificant farmhand in a nearby village? Yes, I thought you might say that. It is quite unfortunate, but oh well. I ought not to reflect upon all that I am missing. That would be churlish of me, and it would not be fair to you either. You did not approach me, I'm sure, with the hope of hearing about all of my woes. I should be grateful instead for all that I do have now. I still have my long, long life, which stretches before me like a golden cord, and, of course, I have you now. Does she? Do I not? I ought to go soon before my absence is noticed, but will you not come and visit me again tomorrow night? I think I would like that. I have always enjoyed speaking to humans. You make me feel less alone. You cannot help but feel, as the mermaid observes you with those enchanting eyes of her, that she does not truly wish to speak to you for your sake. She wants to use you instead as a substitute for the farmhand that she has been missing so very ardently. The thought stings, though you really ought to be used to it. Still, to be held in lower esteem than a farmhand of all things, it makes your self-esteem sting. You try not to let the mermaid notice this, though. The woes of your past are not her fault, much as the woes of her past are not yours. It is silly, in any case, to be jealous of a girl who might very well be dead. That is what you tell yourself. It is the only way to prop up your bruised sense of self-worth. You would, you tell the mermaid after a pause, like to see her again. You would like that very much. Oh, thank you. I have been feeling very gloomy for quite some time, but seeing you has invigorated me. Finally, it feels as though I can smile again. Did she not smile, I wonder, after her friend disappeared? I did not know. I did not have the heart. Without her, the world seemed very dull and drab. Your company has cheered me immensely. This is why I like humans so much. You are not callous and unfeeling, like the merfolk who live beneath the water's surface. You are much kinder than they are. Oh, if only she knew. If the mermaid was aware, I wonder, of how pretty you are and how jealous, would she still care for you? Oh, petty, not pretty. I wonder of how petty you are and how jealous would she still care for you. Well, that is neither here nor there. You agreed to meet with the mermaid come sundown the following night. Then you make your slow, stumbling way back up the cliffs, then to the cottage you have purloined as your own. Once indoors, you settle down upon your pallet, and then you close your eyes. The sighing of the wind outside and the distant rolling of the waves against the rocks do not disturb you. You feel, after your midnight encounter of a marish kind, quite at ease, perhaps prematurely so. What happened to the icy fear which prompted your frantic flight through the forest? Where has all that gone? Do you not think you are being a bit complacent? No? Oh well. You will. The following morning, when it arrives, is cloudy and overcast. It is not a particularly pleasant morning, but at least it's not raining. That is some small consolation. You rise from your straw pallet, stretching, then glance about the interior of the fisherman's cottage. It looked dilapidated last night, when much of it was obscured by the shadows, but it looks even more so when subjected to the morning's light. The cottage's interior has the distinct, disquieting appearance of having been abandoned in a hurry. There is a broken pottery strewn upon the ground, and the singular wooden chair, which once must have stood by the singular wooden table, is lying on the floor. The doors of the cupboard, meanwhile, are ajar, the shelves within depressingly bare. A quick search reveals a handful of edibles, but there is precious little to be getting on with. If you wish to live here comfortably, you will have to look into foraging. You ate very little last night and your stomach is empty. It was the malcontented rumblings in your stomach, in actual fact, which roused you from your slumber. But your body seems to be very far away, indeed, much like the gray clouds which choke the sky. You are not thinking of your own physical discomforts. You are dwelling instead upon the events of the night prior. You cannot help but think of your mermaid. Did you truly meet an aquatic maiden last night? during your nightly stroll when you could not sleep? It sounds unreal, especially now that the sun has risen and the shadows from the night prior have dispersed. You cannot quite believe it. It must have been a dream. But why then can you recall it so clearly? You help yourself to the scant food and drink available to you, all the while thinking of your next course of action. Now what are you to do? Your plan, of course, to return to the shore come nightfall, so that you might once again see the mermaid. But the night will not arrive for quite some time. You need to find some means of keeping yourself occupied until then. The uninspiring interior of the cottage does not furnish you with any particular ideas, so you decide to go for a walk. Your soul still aches from the exertions last night, but if you go slowly, you ought to be all right. That is what you hope, at least. You don't want to spend much longer than you have in the fisherman's cottage, no matter how cold it might be outdoors. It's almost cold inside as it is out, and in any case, the cottage is far too small. You leave the cottage behind you and set off. You guys, I think I might pause here. I really wanted to finish the game today, but I have a feeling we're not as far as I hope we are. I think we're probably about halfway. If each pathway takes the same amount of time as the first one. So I'm gonna have us save here and revisit this on another day. In the meantime, I'm gonna see who's live and send you guys over to another channel with a raid. Hooray! Thank you everyone for joining for story time. And I hope everybody has a very happy Mother's Day. Let's see, who's on 9 today? Who's on 9 on Mother's Day? Oh, okay, Opossum, Saki Opossumi is streaming Subnautica. Go say hi, enjoy the stream. Thank you for tuning in, Ezekiel and Fluffers. We got the countdown going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.